If one of your goals is, let's say, eating less for whatever reason, maybe for weight loss, maybe to have a better relationship with food, up to you. If you want to do that, just telling yourself, I want to eat less, or I want to move more, or just thinking that isn't enough. And what a lot of people get wrong about trying to change your behavior is they focus on what to do instead of how to do it. So focusing on just telling people again to eat less or to move more, that's the what, or like what kind of exercise is the best, or what kind of diet's the best. That's a lot of the what, and the answer is whatever works for you. That's a lot of the what, but the how is often missing from that conversation. Obviously, we know, most of us know, let's say you're trying to lose weight, that if you want to lose weight, what matters most is a caloric deficit, is eating fewer calories that you burn. Number one, that's the most important thing. That's the only thing that works physiologically, according to like the rules of physics. But if you want to do that, again, how? How do you actually change your behavior? We're asking you to change your behavior. And you currently are acting a certain way. You are doing certain behaviors in your life because you are used to them, because that's the way you've done them for a while. That is what your brain is used to. That is what your body is used to. And asking yourself to change behavior, that's actually quite difficult, because what you really need to do is reprogram your brain and get your brain to have new defaults. And that is not something that happens overnight. And as anyone that's tried to change their behavior before, for most of us, some people are unicorns with this and they just say like, I'm going to do this and I do it. I'm not one of those unicorns. For most of us, it takes time. And it's not like overnight I decide to change my behavior and then I change it and then it never reverts back. I don't know many people that are like that. There are some people, there's unicorns. Most of us are not unicorns. And most of us, it takes time and effort to change our behavior. So all of that to say is that I want to give you a framework to work from that can potentially help you on a behavior change path. If you want to lose weight, losing weight is an outcome of a change in behavior, eating less and moving more. I focus on eating less, even though I love to move. That's another topic though. And if you want to eat less, you have to change your behaviors. You have to change a lot of things. So what this video is about, it's a little about the how. And this is one potential framework that might work for you. There's tons of different frameworks. I love what's called an ACT framework, which is acceptance and commitment therapy. So it is a therapy modality. It is something that is used during like psychotherapy, for instance, ACT is, but it's also used in behavior change literature, which I'm obsessed with as a health promoter myself. So I want to give you how ACT can be applied to behavior change with respect to eating less, although this can also be applied to any behavior you want to change. So my version of ACT for appetite mastery and for eating less and getting in a better relationship with your body is something I like to call playful experimentation. So let me bring you through what I call playful experimentation, and then I'll explain how this relates to ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy. So playful experimentation, first of all, the name is important, because when you say, I have to change this behavior, oh, I have to eat less, oh, I'm not allowed, I have to eat salads and I can never eat food again, that sucks. That sounds terrible. I don't want to do that. I'm like making it already sound like it sucks, so I don't want to do it, right? If it sounds hard and it sounds annoying, then you're not going to want to do it. So I like just the idea of playful, like let's try some shit out, like let's play around with some things. Experimentation as in, I don't know what's gonna work, let's try some stuff with a little bit of joy behind it, with like a little bit of like, hey, let's see if this works, and then see what the results are, and then reevaluate, right? And then make decisions based on that. So if you want to change a behavior, you first have to notice what the current behavior is. You need to get a baseline. And like I said, the reason you currently do what you do is because you're used to doing it. And if you want to change that pattern, you have to realize that that pattern exists. So when the pattern is taking place, a good place to start is to pause and notice. Add a little space in between the thing that triggered you to act a certain way, the thing that cued you to act a certain way, and the behavior, you acting that way. So for instance, it's 8:30 at night, and I'm on the couch and I'm watching TV, and all I want to do is go to the cupboard and get some chocolate. Okay, so there's a cue, and then my response is go get chocolate. Cue, chocolate. And it's very clear that that's the cue and that's the response. So playful experimentation would argue cue, there's a bunch of cues that are queuing up that particular behavior. Before I jump to the response, I just add a little space in between there, and I pause and I notice. And you're trying to unlink, you're trying to rewire a little bit, right? You're trying to unlink the trigger or the cue and the response. So we put a little pause in there. Okay, so we can start breaking that pattern a little bit. Doesn't happen overnight, but this is the beginnings of this. So you pause and you notice, and so I'll be on the couch and I'll be like, oh, I want to go eat. And I'll be like, instead of going right away, be like, oh, here's what's happening. And you reflect on it. I am wanting to go and eat because my body is used to eating at this time, because the combination of couch plus Netflix plus cat, plus phone, plus 8:30 to 10 p.m., that is my perfect storm combination that makes me want to go eat chocolate. And then maybe go eat chocolate. Okay, sure. But at least you put a pause in there, and at least you reflected on it. And next time we come back, maybe we put a longer pause in it, and the reflection helps more. Because once you reflect, you also want to recommit. So, okay, pausing, noticing, reflecting, and okay, I want to go get the chocolate, but I have values that going to get that chocolate is not in line with. Going to get that chocolate, and sometimes getting the chocolate is in line with my values, just to be clear. But when it's overboard, right? And sometimes going to get that chocolate is not in line with my values, because I'm trying to eat better. I like to eat in a moderate way, and I know when I start eating that chocolate, I can't stop. So I pause and I notice this is happening. I reflect on what's going on, and I'm like, okay, I could go get that chocolate, but I'm committed to the values I have. And I recommit to those values. So you do need your thinking brain. You have to pay attention. Awareness is important. And the problem with awareness is these friggin' things, okay? So many of us are obsessed with our phones, me included, so it's really hard to pause and notice. So even just starting there is such an important starting point for us to try to reprogram some of that, okay? And then you just try some shit out. You try some different stuff out, see how it goes. So I reflected and I recommitted. I don't want to go get that chocolate. Okay, what am I going to do instead? Okay, I'm just going to sit here. Maybe that works. I'm going to see if I can just sit here and ride out the wave. We're going to try something out. Let's see how it goes, playfully. Let's see how it goes. Let's try to ride out this wave and see how it goes. Right? Nope, that didn't work. Error. Tried to ride out the wave. No, the wave is strong. And it's calling to me. So maybe that didn't work. Maybe the next time, once I recommitted and I want to go get that chocolate, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to do it this time. I'm going to just do a walk around the house. I don't know. I'm going to go into another room. I am going to read 3 pages of a book. I don't know. I'm going to go brush my teeth. I don't know, right? Try stuff out. That's the experimentation part, right? And then playful is about reframing how we approach this. You trial and error, and then you see how it goes. And you're refining and adapting depending on the situation, because maybe you try this out and this works in this particular situation, but another situation is going to call for something else. So Yeah, and then you just kind of keep going back to pause and notice. All paths lead back to pause and notice. If there's nothing else you take from this video, if you can just try 1 week. Try 1 week between cue and response. Can you add 2 minutes in there? Can you add 1 minute in there? Can you put a little pause in there and just add some awareness to the mix? Right? Because that's part of what ACT is adding some awareness to the mix and being here with the present moment. Right? Another part of ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, which I'll get back to in a second, is really being clear on your values. Really being clear on your North Star. Why do you not want to go get that chocolate? Maybe you do. Maybe you just don't want the 20th chocolate. Maybe you just don't want the 5th chocolate, right? And getting the first one leads to the 5th one really quickly. So why is that important to you? You have to be clear on your values. This is the best thing we can do with our thinking brain, is be clear on our values. Why is that important to me? It's important to me because I know that that's when I lose control, and I don't want to lose control anymore. It's important to me because maybe you're trying to lose weight, and maybe that's really important to you because you want your health to get better, because maybe your weight is affecting your health. I don't know. I'm not saying it is, but maybe that's the case. Maybe you want a more positive relationship with food or with your body, right? Maybe there's clothes you want to fit into. I don't really know, and I don't care, right? Your values are important to you, but get clear on them. That's something else you could do with this video, is just stop it and start journaling out, why do you want to change your eating behaviors? Why do you want to eat less? And losing weight might go in there. Try to go a bit deeper. What would losing weight give you? And why is that important to you? And why is that important to you? And why is that important to you? Keep asking yourself that question. And I don't know, do you need to put a vision board up? Do you need to put affirmations on your fridge? Do you need to put something in your face that gets you really freaking clear on your values? Because that's going to be important to the reflect and recommit part of this. And you'll notice that I also have a little heart between some hands, because what's really important to this process and appetite mastery as well is being super kind to yourself. Don't be mean to yourself. We don't want to mess with our mental health. So many diet programs, so many weight related programs, they're just like screw over your mental health for some fast weight loss and then see ya, basically. And then see ya, and then you're on your own. And you've made your mental health worse, and that weight loss was temporary. We're not playing that game anymore. We want to feel empowered about food. We want to feel empowered about our body. We want to live in good relationship with our body and with food, right? So we're not doing anything that compromises our mental health. And that's why we call this playful experimentation, because we play around. We see how it goes. We try things out. And then we get really clear about our values, so that keeps moving us forward. So again, this playful experimentation concept, it's really just coming out of this concept of ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy. And what acceptance and commitment therapy asks you with respect to behavior change is to have something called psychological flexibility, which basically means that, like, okay, I know that the fridge is calling to me. I know that I want to go eat that chocolate right now, and that everything is screaming at me. And my brain, the appetite part of my brain, screams at me, like in a language that I don't fully understand. It's not words, but there's a screaming. It's like an alarm. Feels like an emergency when I want to go eat something. Right? Psychological flexibility is about being like, okay, so I hear that the part of my brain that wants to seek out food is screaming at me. And I feel that and I see that, but I have the psychological flexibility to say, I see that, but it's a bit of a lie, because I don't actually need food right now. It's just used to eating. I'm wired in a particular way right now, and it feels like an emergency, but it's actually not an emergency. And psychological flexibility is like, even though there's all these screaming thoughts and emotions perhaps that are saying, go over here, your brain is saying, okay, I see you, and I see those screaming and that talk, but I care about that outcome. And I'm moving towards that outcome, because that outcome, right? Being in good relationship with my body, being in good relationship with my appetite, feeling in control of my appetite and food, that is the direction I want to go towards. And so, yeah, they're going to be here. It's like fear. It's like fear. Fear can always be there. It's going to be there. Fear is just very evolutionary as well. It's like, watch out for a bunch of stuff. So is eating. That's like, eat because you need to survive. Those are going to be there, right? But they might hold you back from moving in the direction that's in line with who you want to be and who you're becoming. So that's what ACT asks us to do. It asks us to have that psychological flexibility, and part of what we need to have that psychological flexibility is being aware of what's happening in the present moment, which is why this is a problem. I'm judging myself here too, because so many of us are like on our phones all the time, so we don't have any of this present moment awareness. So we don't even hear these thoughts or these feelings. We just feel cue, run to the fridge. Trigger, response, because we don't put any time between those, and we don't put any thought between us, and we have so much else going on that we're not here with the present moment, so we can't be clear about what's happening. So you have to be aware of the present moment. You have to, another part of ACT is observing your thoughts, realizing that you're the observer. It's a little bit, gets into like Eastern spirituality, a little bit of this as well, that you're the observer. If you can watch your thoughts, you're not your thoughts. So monkey mind's gonna monkey mind. The mind's gonna be like, ba, 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 do this thing, go get eat. That's what mine sounds like. Eat. But self is context, and ability to be in the present moments is you being like, oh, I'm watching myself having that response. There's a bit of diffusion. You're putting some space between the thought or the trigger and your response, right? You're kind of diffusing your attachment to that thought. So instead of I'm hungry, which if you're hungry, you should eat. If you're truly hungry, you should eat. If your body needs to eat, you should eat, just for clarity. But sometimes you think you're hungry and it's actually mind hunger, mental hunger, right? So self as context and awareness in the present moment would be like, oh, I am watching myself, and this is a bit of diffusion, I am watching myself having a mental drive to go eat right now. It's not actual hunger, but I know that my like wanting brain, that's part of your wanting brain, your reward seeking brain, is saying, go eat right now. And I'm watching it do that, but I'm not going to identify with that because I care about my values. I am committed to my values. I'm taking committed action. So even though this all is screaming at me, I'm pausing and I'm noticing that this is happening. And I'm doing a little bit of reflection and some diffusion. Instead of I'm mentally hungry, I'm watching myself be mentally hungry, or I'm having the experience of watching myself be mentally hungry. You're like detaching yourself from that. You're accepting that those thoughts and those feelings are there. That's the acceptance part, because, that's how our brains work. And that's how you've always done things, and that's how your brain's always been. So if you're going to rewire it, you have to be aware of its current wiring, right? And then, so acceptance and commitment therapy, the acceptance part is I accept what's going on right now and accept that I have all these feelings and desires and these wants, and I'm being motivated towards food, but I'm not letting this dictate where I go because I'm not identifying with those things. And some of those things are dirty liars. And instead, I'm going to move towards what I care about, and I'm going to play around. I'm going to try some things out. That's joyful experimentation, playful experimentation. I think it should be joyful too, right? I'm going to play around with some stuff, see how it goes. And then all the while, I'm going to be nice to myself. I'm going to be kind. I'm going to try to be a bit more aware. I'm going to try to be a little bit less distracted. And at the very least, if you take nothing else from this video, can you pause a little bit between the trigger, between the cue, between the stimulus and the action? Can you just put a little space between those? So we stop like making that connection so tight, because the connection is tight probably right now. Cue, response. Desire to eat, eat. So can we put some space between that, and can we recommit to our values so we move in that aligned direction? And then let's play around and see what works for us. Let's not assume that what works for other people is going to work for us. Okay, that was a lot. Explaining an entire psychological framework, a behavior change framework, that's a lot to process. But if you take nothing else from this video, like I said, pause and notice. Can you put a pause in there? Can you put a pause in there? And can you recommit to your valued direction? And can you be kind to yourself throughout? Hopefully, yes. I'm Deanna Bedoya. I'll see you in the next video. You're awesome, and you deserve to feel amazing in your body, and you can have a good relationship with both food and yourself, and you need to believe that is true, because it is true.